Hey guys, what's going on? This is day 4. Let's see, I think yeah, that's right. Yep, day 4 of the 30-day kettlebell challenge. Super busy all day today, so I didn't get a chance to do a full workout. What we did do was promote. We had a guy come in, videotape a lot of stuff about the from our game changer courses that we're doing here at the Hub Gym. So I participated in the class, and then my phone died and I didn't get a chance to record. So I decided to just take this as an opportunity to talk a little bit more about what I mentioned in my last video in regards to diet. What I do with my diet is I keep my carbs and my fats and my proteins separate from each other throughout the day. So I keep my carb consumption early on, and then lunchtime comes around. Usually it'll be somewhere between a high fat meal and a lower carb, more vegetable type. It just kind of varies. But right now, since I'm doing macro meals, it's going to be probably more meat based for lunch, considering I'm doing the snatches so early in the morning right after breakfast, which is generally just fruit. And the reason I do that, sorry, let me back up. So moving on to dinner time, usually it's going to be a little bit less fats, depending on the day, maybe more fats, depending on lunch, what I had for lunch. But my protein intake is going to be high, and I keep my proteins, my proteins and my carbs separate, and my fats and my carbs separate. I usually eat fats with protein. So the reason I do that is because I've done some research in the past regarding an issue that I had. I had kidney stones, and I'll make another video about that, explaining more of my story. But what I did was I religiously tracked my food intake all day, every single day, for about a month, and finally realized what exactly was kind of causing my kidney stones. And what I found was that when I had more carbohydrates, like potatoes or rice or anything like that, high starch foods, with like pastas, with my meats, especially if there's a lot of fats in there like cheese and things like that, exactly a week later I would get a kidney stone. So what I did to kind of control for that was, after those findings, I started separating.
Is that mine?
I think so.
It's not yours?
I don't think so.
Okay, it's mine.
Okay.
Called it.
Anyways, so what I started doing to control for that was separating my carbs from my proteins. That was the first thing I controlled for, and it was a little bit better. It wasn't until I started really controlling for all those things by just having food separately. I even got to the point where I was having only fruit for an entire day, with vegetables. Of course, I would have vegetables with the fruit, and then the next day I would have a lot of high fat with vegetables, avocados and cheese and things like that, nuts. And I was okay. And then I would even have a full day of just meats. And I suspected that the fats would be okay, because, again, remember, I was doing some research on combining foods, which was a new thing to me completely. So during this time I was researching that. And so I suspected with some of the research that fats would be okay to have with meats, as far as food combinations go, which to most people it wouldn't seem like that would be anything. So I did that, and I felt totally fine. Weeks went past, and I didn't have kidney stones. I was coming off of some pressure in my kidney, but everything was good. And so from then on, I decided to just stick to that. So you can look up food combination diets and guidelines and things like that on the internet. It's not popular, but I found that to be not only for my condition, which now I can even I can slowly eat normal, but I don't overdo it. I consider myself mostly healed up from that, cured, so to speak. But so yeah, that's what I do. Those are the reasons for it, and considering that, I noticed that there was a tremendous amount of weight loss with that as well. So separating my carbs from my fats and my carbs from my proteins, I was able to continuously gain muscle and lose fat at the same time and still have the energy to perform all the types of workouts that I like doing, which would be high intensity interval training, and or progressive hypertrophy training. So that explains that a little bit to you guys. That's why I do it. And from my experience, friends and clients and family and people that I've always, I've since discovering this, I've told them to try it. People lose weight. So to me, it's evident that if you want to lose fat, you don't have to be so strict on diet. And then, of course, there's always other factors. But what I found to be the easiest lifestyle change and not diet fad is just being super conscious of what you're eating with other foods. So the standard American diet, just to kind of talk about that a little bit, cheeseburgers, pizza, fish and chips, fries and buffalo wings and all this kind of stuff. It's you're basically just mixing all of your macros, so to speak. And yes, of course, the quality of the food is way worse than if you were to make any of that stuff at home. But I guarantee you that if you just are conscious, even with quality food, what macros you're mixing together, you will. I've even noticed you'll lose weight, but I've even noticed mental clarity dramatically improve. And so now if I if something's cooked with, if it's rice and it's cooked with some kind of like oily or fatty sauce or things like that, I notice it pretty much right away. Same thing with other foods, if you want to get fat, you can eat fruit and nuts together. That's a good way to get fat. But I've never gotten fat off of just eating fruit, or just eating nuts. As a matter of fact, there was a time a little while ago where I was doing construction work with this company, and just starting off, I was just figuring out the job, and so I didn't eat much. I just kind of I just packed my meals and stuff, and I ate what I had. I'm sure some of the weight loss was contributed to a caloric deficit, but I never gained weight from eating just nuts. So there's people out there that say, eating high-fat foods will make you fat, and there's people out there that say eating high-carb foods will make you fat. Neither is true. You just have to be conscious of what you're eating. I believe that to be true. If you're eating both together, you're probably going to gain some fat. If you separate them, you're not losing nutrients throughout the day. I think that's what I think is cool about this, is that you can have your carbs, the carbs that you want in the morning, and you can have the fats you want in the evening, and the proteins you want. So that's my take on it. Just go ahead and leave a comment. Tell me about what you think. If you have your own experiences with certain non-popular diets, let me know. So that's it. Day 5. Thought I'd give that to you guys instead of getting the video of me doing some swings. So tomorrow is another day. Hopefully I won't be so tired from doing the game changer stuff this morning. I'm going to hit those snatches up. 30-day kettlebell challenge, 400 snatches in 20 minutes with two 35-pound kettlebells.